Hello there and welcome to our live webinar. This is Colleen Coles and I'm going to go ahead and just get started. And so if you're here live with us, then make sure to chat in the chat box. And if you are watching the replay, that's totally cool too. Make sure that you participate and you answer these questions that I'm going to ask you for yourself so that you get the most engaged and the most out of this webinar. And so let's go ahead and get started. So my name is Colleen Coles and I am a purpose alignment coach. And so we're going to talk about today the 3 ways that you can prepare for your purpose while you're still in a dead-end job. And what I mean by that is just in a job that you know is no longer, your purpose, is no longer something that you want to do. So not to say anything bad about, maybe where you're at or what job you are in. In fact, there's probably many people who enjoy it. This is about you and your journey and your path and what's bigger and meant for you now. So let's go ahead and dive in. I have my notes here on the computer as well, just if you see me looking to the side. And again, if you're here live, make sure to chat in the chat box. This is going to be really interactive. And so I want to make sure I hear from you and also answer all your questions. All right, so as we begin, grab a notebook and pen and also make sure that you're really focused right here, right now, because this is all about you. This is all about you going to a higher level and for really fulfilling what you're meant for here on this planet, on this lifetime. So make sure to give yourself the respect and dedication and honor of being present right here, right now. Also, I want to make sure and encourage you to stay till the end of this webinar because I'm not only promising that I will deliver for you, what blocks are in the way and how to reveal to unlift them, what tools you can actually take away, to start really living out your purpose and prepare for it. But I also am promising that at the end of this webinar, I'm going to be giving you a really special free gift, and there's nothing to sell here on this webinar. I just want to make sure that you, claim that for yourself. So make sure to stay here for the end because I have a very special gift and opportunity for you. Okay, so what we'll be covering today, what we're going to be covering, I kind of just mentioned it, but we're going to be covering, first off, why trying to get out of the job that you're in, that you may not want to be in anymore, could actually be keeping you stuck there. Okay, we're also going to be covering why trying to figure out your purpose or what you're really meant to do when you don't have clarity around it could also be keeping you stuck. Okay, we're going to go over the #1 block that keeps many people from really fulfilling their mission or their calling and how you can really get rid of that. I really believe almost every human on the planet has this until they don't. So this is really big and not a lot of people know about it. So it's really crucial you're here. Your soul is going to thank you. And I also thank you because you have a big mission to accomplish. And so I'm so grateful that you're here giving yourself the time and that in any way, shape, or form, I can help you do that, even through just this present moment and being with you right here, right now. So finally, we're going to talk about tools that you can use so that you can really, own where you're at and use this time to go forward. I remember when I was still in jobs that were just getting me towards clarity or getting me towards what I really wanted. I felt, one, afraid that if I did them too well or enjoyed them too well, then I would be stuck there forever because they would think, oh, you're doing great. Like, just keep, bussing those tables or whatever the case was. But really, that's not true. And so I don't want you having those same type of, blocks, I guess, that are also keeping you slowing your momentum towards what you're really meant for. Okay? So now, I already told you my promise is that we're going to reveal these blocks. I'm going to tell you how you can prepare. And that's the other thing I wanted to touch on was how you might feel so stuck right now in your life that you can't see this as a good time in any way, shape, or form for you and your purpose, okay? But I want to just flip that a little bit and show you how you can actually be in the perfect space for really like creating and like the foundation of your launching pad, okay? Because you might have time and space that other people don't have once they're like totally charging forward. So this is a really good place for you. However, if you miss that window, then it's kind of gone. So I want to make sure we dive in now to have you accept where you're at, own where you're at, and also use it as a time for preparation rather than feeling stuck and really, really lost. Okay? So, who is this for? So I'm not seeing anybody from the chat, but I know you guys are here. So make sure to chat in the chat box. And by the way, that's, I believe, on your top left corner. It's like a little blue box with a little like quote inside. And if you're watching the replay, that's okay too. Just make sure you're interacting with your heart and soul. Okay, so let's see. Who is this webinar for? Right? Like who am I really addressing this to? This is for anyone who feels stuck, lost, and unmotivated to really do what they are meant to do. So if you're feeling like you might have an idea around what your dream is, even if you've never really expressed it to yourself or to anybody else, but you're just not taking action to make it happen, this is for you. On the flip side, if you're somebody who really has no idea like what you really want, you don't have that clarity of what your purpose is, you just know you feel unfulfilled, you feel stuck, you feel maybe scared, and you feel like your life is passing you by and you're afraid of just staying mediocre and not really living on purpose. This is for you. You're in the perfect spot, okay? And so I want to kind of cover first if this sounds like you. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of say a couple traits or feelings, and I want you to put in the chat box, yes, this is me, or no, I don't really feel like that. Okay, so we're just kind of gonna play a game. So we already know who this is for, but this is to really get deep. I want to really connect with you to see if you feel these ways. Okay, so let's see. Do you feel overwhelmed by the amount of possibilities you have or passions that you have, and that overwhelm stops you from moving forward? Okay, let me know if that's you. Let me know if you're feeling stuck and you're lacking fulfillment in some way, and you just don't know how to feel more joy, more inspiration, and more confidence in who you are and what you want. Do you feel like time is slipping away from you and you're just getting older and older, no matter how old you are, and you just want to do something meaningful, but you don't know how in the time that you really have? And then finally, do you feel like you might have that clear decision of like, yes, I'm getting more clear on what I want, but I just don't know how to get out of where I am. Like, how do I make that a reality? Let me know, okay? And if you want to make a bigger impact, and if you're feeling stuck, you're feeling small, but you know you want to make a bigger impact, and you just don't know what it looks like, this is for you as well, okay? There's a couple other traits too that are specific to this block, this really #1 block that we're gonna be talking about, okay? So these are some traits, and I'm gonna touch on them later too, but here are some traits as well. Do you feel like you have to people please? Okay? Do you feel like you care about what other people think of you, almost to a detriment, where it holds you back from being focused on what you really want? Do you feel like you have to take care of everyone else? You know, and it takes away time so much that then you're depleted at the end of the day without the ability to focus on what you want. You're just too tired and you feel so just drained. Okay, now I'm gonna pause for just a second. I wanna make sure everybody can see the chat. I hope you can, but I'm gonna keep going, and it's all available, but that's fine. So we may just, I hope the chat's working, but anyway, okay. I'm gonna keep going. I was distracted. I'm like, I hope they can talk to me. But if not, that's okay too, because this is gonna be jam-packed and I want you to like boom with your mind, okay? No matter what, definitely stay engaged. Okay, cool. So we're going past, these blocks. Okay, so, feeling like others are judging you and you really care about it. Feeling like you have to take care of others. Feeling like it's really hard to make decisions, okay? Feeling like it's hard to trust what you want. Maybe you don't even know what you want, right? Like all of these things are totally understandable once you realize why they're happening. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, which is going to be like life-changing for you, okay? And then even how you can really allow these to dissipate. Can you imagine not caring what other people thought of you? Could you imagine having the confidence and the clarity to just do whatever it is that you want? Can you imagine making a bigger impact and a bigger difference in the world just by doing what you love and who you are as a person? Can you imagine speaking up, speaking your truth, not being afraid to say how you really feel, and even through that, helping other people be themselves as well? Now that is all possible for you. And not only that, but confidence through being good at what you're doing. Confidence, clarity, like you're in the zone. You're excited to get up in the morning because you know that you have fulfillment and it's coming through you. It's coming through and in you from a higher source and from your ability to really use your gifts in a magical, magnificent, powerful, purposeful way. Can you imagine feeling so complete and rested within yourself because you have found an inner refuge that is bigger than your anxiety, bigger than your problems? Like that is what's available for you and for me. And it's something that I want to kind of let you in on, if you will. Because the truth is when you're doing what you're meant for and you can connect to a higher source that's providing you that space, clarity, confidence, all-knowing, well-being, protection, and guidance, then you're going to feel uplifted. You're going to feel like you can do this. That is totally possible for you. And how do I know? Because I now experience that, but that wasn't always the case, okay? So let me just give you some ground rules right now. I like to call this section the lay of the land. Okay, so this part is about what you need to know up front. All right, so in case you're feeling all those things, I want you to like really journal it out and just say yes. And now we're going to go into like what you need to know. Okay, so the first thing to know is that there are no failures. Okay, you might feel like you're behind, you're lacking in some way. Oh, that's another huge result of having this block, is saying I'm not good enough, feeling disconnected, feeling like you're less than. Okay, but when you shed that block, all of a sudden you're connected to your inner confidence that, by the way, is already within you. It's already there. It's just about tapping into it. Okay, so there's no shame because there's no failure. Anytime you felt failure, it's only because somebody told you that you were a failure. Okay, or you put together the concept of that. But in reality, there's only life lessons, and so there is no shame exactly where you are. You get to be where you're at, okay? And you get to be patting yourself on the back right now because you actually are taking action. If you're feeling lost or, you know, not fulfilled in any way, like you get to pat yourself on the back right now because you came to this webinar and the universe has eyes. So well done. You are actually taking action and you will get the clarity that you're seeking. Okay, it's meant for you. All right, so now here's the thing. Nobody finds their purpose without a hero's journey. Okay, and what I mean by that is by facing your own fears. Okay, nobody gets to live out their calling unless they're willing to confront what is blocking them, okay? And sometimes that can be scary, and sometimes it can be scary to really have the courage to go out and do what you want and be who you are, okay? It's like a path less traveled to do you. All right. And that's what it takes, I guess, to really live out your purpose. You have to be willing to speak up, claim your truth, like Oprah said, like it's hashtagged everywhere. But, the biggest tool you have is speaking that truth and being who you are. And that's how you're going to help more people and even find what you're really meant for. Okay. But nobody gets to do that without having that hero's journey and facing their fears or just having the courage to do that. Okay. Here we're going to have a non-judgmental attitude. So just non-judgment, just be present, non-judging of yourself, of me, or of others here, because I really love this quote from the Bhagavad Gita, and it's the Hindu sacred text, and it just talks about a story of as if God, Brahman, is talking to a prince, and the prince is asking God all of these questions. And at one point, God says, don't you dare judge other people, because you're judging them, you're saying to yourself and to them, you're not doing what you're supposed to do, meaning you're off purpose. And God said, how dare you judge? Don't judge, because sometimes we don't even know our purpose. Do you know your purpose? Like sometimes I even still wake up, I'm like, do I? But then I use the tools and I'm like, okay, right, I'm back connected, okay? And I use my inner guidance system to show me if I'm on or off track. But I love that story so much because it's a reminder to not judge others, and especially not judging yourself or your path or your past to get here. Because as we're going to find out, every step of the way, there is a purpose for you in being there. And so that's why I'm saying, accept where you are right now. Let it be fuel for you to move forward in your life. But you don't have to stay there, and yet you don't have to resist it so much and judge it so much as bad or wrong that you're then missing the lesson. Okay, or you're shaming yourself. There's non-judgment. Every step of the way is for some reason. Okay, and so you are on purpose in that way, and now it's time to let all of it out, because you're going to be letting all of yourself out of the box. Okay, so before we go any further, I want to just explain a little bit about my story and who I am to talk about this. So again, I'm Colleen, and I'm a purpose alignment coach. So I just help people really get clear on what it would be to live out their purpose. And then we get the blocks out of the way so that they can do that in a meaningful way or in a meaningful career. Some of my credentials, if you will, my backstory is that I am a licensed elementary education teacher, K through 6 in Arizona and Virginia. And I also have a couple other certifications. So I'm a certified life coach and have coached over, I don't remember, over 150 hours now, but clients all over the world, and with these same issues, okay? I'm a graduate of Gabrielle Bernstein's Spirit Junkie Masterclass, level 1 and 2, and that's a huge honor. Definitely something not everybody can do, but it's for light workers and to help more people just do what they love in a spiritual way. And it was an extensive training. Let's see. I also apprenticed under my first life coach, who is has a master's in spiritual psychology from the University of Santa Monica, and also kind of just a living guru. Like, she is almost like a female version of Eckhart Tolle, if you've ever read The Power of Now. And so to be with her for 12 weeks, I think 3 months, was outstanding and so revolutionary in my growth, and also helped me become the coach that I am today, and also help with this specific tool set to help get these big blocks out of the way and connect you to your higher purpose and to your higher source. All right, so I feel like confident to tell you that whatever it is that you are seeking for is also seeking you. And the reason I have confidence to tell you that is because I now feel all of these things that I once was searching for. Like, I was just doing a meditation right before this webinar, and at one point my master, meditation teacher said, be grateful for where you're at. And I realized I'm living out my dream. Like, it's just the beginning, but yet I'm literally in the spot that I once dreamed was not possible. And the feelings that I thought were only a glimmer are what my daily experiences are. Now, they're not always this way, but more and more and more, I feel free. I feel expressive. I feel alive. I feel in flow. I feel on purpose. I feel connected to something greater that's also there for you too. And yet it wasn't always like this for me. It was not always like this for me. Not very long ago, I was feeling completely lost. I felt like I had to get validation from everyone I knew. I felt like I was a people pleaser. I had no confidence. I had no direction, and my life sucked. Like, just my inner world was so depleted and scary, anxious, overwhelmed. And so I want to share why and how I've overcome those feelings, and also too why I care so much about sharing this message about purpose, and why it's so important for you to get these blocks out of the way so that you can really express who you truly are. Okay? All right, so just to give you a little background on my story. It really started in 2012 is where I want to start this story, because I was a graduating senior in college, and I had the chance to go to a music festival. So I was in California with a roommate I had only known for a few months, who was super new agey and inviting me into this world of spirituality and like the chakras, which you'll see right here. And I was a Catholic girl at the time. So I was like really astounded, but also very excited about all this new possibilities, but I was like nervous about it. So here we are, we're in California. Okay, I want you to be there with me. And I'm at this music festival, the first one I've ever been to, you know, hippies everywhere. And this music festival is called Lightning in a Bottle. And I'm sitting there on the ground on my yoga mat, and there's a speaker who comes on the stage. And this speaker called herself a mystic. She claimed to have entered many times into what's called samadhi, which is a Sanskrit word that means all connected, like all unity. And so it's when a mystic can go into this higher state of connection and then vibrate out like at a super godlike level. And then when she comes out of it, she writes about it. So what was so striking to me about this woman was how average she kind of looked, but different she felt. And I remember very distinctly, she finally said, you know, our purpose and why you're here is to help uplift the consciousness of the planet. And when I heard that as kind of a student studying elementary ed, but still not really feeling what I was going to be doing, I clicked. I was like, yes, ma'am, I fully accept your mission and I'm ready. Like, I got it. That's my job. Okay. And I remember being so lit up by that and just really like clear and ready to go and conquer the world. And what was funny that was when I started getting back into my daily routine back home and working in my little college town and doing little, you know, retreats and still things like that. I was at church at one point, and this woman who's very kind, very nice, she was like, so what are you going to be doing, you know, after school? Like, what do you feel your real purpose is? And what are you going to be doing? And I was like, well, my purpose is to uplift the consciousness of the planet. And she was like, well, that's a very tall order. And at the time, I was just like, F you. I was like, you don't get it. But yeah, you're right, it is. So I got work to do, bye. And yet I remember as time kept going on, I was like, okay, wait, how am I going to do this? Like, how do people just uplift the consciousness of the planet, right? Maybe you felt like that. Maybe no, you want to help people. You want to feel good. You want to feel uplifted yourself. But you're like, well, how am I going to do that? Okay, so flash forward a little bit. You know, when I was student teaching, I got the chance to be on the East Coast to student teach. And when I was there, I visited this little town in Virginia. And I fell in love with it. In fact, it was the first time ever I remember having clarity around what a dream was. And I remember thinking, this is where I gotta go. So when I went to that music festival, talked to that lady, I was working so that I could move out to Virginia. And once I finally found the money and made it happen, I drove out and I was in Virginia and I was about to live out my dream. Okay, so I was there, and what's funny is that everything didn't just work out. It was actually very scary. I didn't know anyone, and it was really hard to find a job. So I thought I would be good to go finding a job. But I started by substitute teaching, and then it just was not working out. And I couldn't figure out why. I felt really stuck and like less than, I'm not good enough. All of those stories coming up big time, because here I was getting super great credentials, and yet I couldn't get a job teaching first grade, which I didn't even really want to do. And what was funny was that at one point towards the end of that school year, I did get hired to work at a small private school as their in-house full-time substitute teacher. So I was like, okay, well, it's not what I really want, but it's a step in the right direction, I guess. And what was funny was that when I was actually teaching, I wasn't feeling lit up. I wasn't feeling like I was helping anybody's consciousness, let alone my own. And I was feeling really, really, really stuck. And so at the same time, around this time, I was reading a personal development book, and it was by Gay Hendricks. And he was talking about your zone of genius. And if you don't know, your zone of genius is this sweet spot where your skill set, what you're really naturally good at, your talents, what you've really studied for, honed in on, match what you love to do, what you really like to do, what you find enjoyable, your bliss, your passion. And when you can combine those two things and do it in a way that also is the lifestyle you want, all of a sudden, bam, you have this bigger power and more success power, if you will. So if you think of anyone who is successful in your eyes, I think about Oprah, I think about, Academy Award-winning actresses, authors, artists, athletes. The ones who are really rising to the tops are the ones who, if you look at them, they have that natural ability, and they also have the drive, the passion, the love of what they're doing. Okay, right? Like, can you see that? Okay, so at this time, I was reading this book, right? And I was realizing about this thing called Zone of Genius. And I remember when I was sitting there on my couch, my roommate comes in. And she's like, what are you reading? I'm like, oh, this is a book in Zone of Genius. And she's like, that's really interesting, because I knew this girl in college. And she rode crew with me, and she was a really terrible student. Like, she got C's all the time, wouldn't go to class, like just a terrible student. Luckily, she graduated, but we all just thought, like, she's got no future, right? And a couple years later, she's like figuring out what she wants to do, and she goes and applies to law school. And she said while she was in law school, everything switched. It's like she became the best student. She was there every time. She started getting awards, and now she's a lawyer and she's doing great. And she said it's just so funny how this girl was out of her zone of genius. She just wasn't in where she needed to be, right? And so, but when she was put into this situation that was really on purpose for her, or in her zone of genius, she was able to thrive. And maybe that's how you feel. Right? Maybe you felt in the past that you were like not really good at something that you were doing, but you didn't know why, and you had bigger dreams for yourself, but you just didn't know how to get them. If that's you, write me if you can in the chat box. But I want you to know that there is something bigger for you, and maybe you just haven't found your zone of genius. Okay? So in that moment for me, I remember thinking, okay, there's two things I realized. I realized that, whoa, okay, so the zone of genius thing totally makes sense to me. And I'm like, first off, I'm not in my zone of genius because I'm good at teaching. They tell me I'm good at teaching, but I'm not loving it like I thought. So something's wrong here for me. And number two was like, okay, wait. So I feel like if people were in their zone of genius, they would be helping uplift the consciousness of the planet for everybody. Because there's two things. One, they're going to be really good at what they're doing, so they're going to be helping in that way. Two, they're going to be loving it, so they're going to keep doing it and have the motivation to and be really good, right? And so they're using their gifts in a specific way that then help better than anything else they could be doing. And then they're going to be happy from that because they're doing what they love, and they're going to be successful. And so they're going to be happy in their relationships and in their personal life. And I was like, well, hot diggity darn, that sounds like a great idea of how you can be uplifting the consciousness of the planet. Now, I want to share a really cool statistic with you. This is from a energy healer and awesome healer coach. Her name's Christy Marie Sheldon. And she has done lots of research, and something she found was that somebody who is vibrating, because you can actually measure your vibration, at a frequency of love or above, so gratitude, joy, compassion, if you're vibrating in one of those higher level frequencies, you can actually raise the vibration of 750,000 people. So just you raising your consciousness, your vibration, your happiness level, even from doing what you're loving and being in your zone of genius, can affect 750,000 people. Can you imagine if everybody did that? Can you imagine what that does for your family? Like, it's a ricochet effect, okay? So that's why this is so important, okay? And I want to pause here to kind of give you this tool of find your zone of genius. Like, find what it is that you love doing and you're good at. Okay, and I'm going to share this last part of this tool right here, right now. So back in, it was like 2014, and I was like, I'm really stuck. I'm not in my zone of genius. What do I do? And I remember being in this teacher's room, and she was a phenomenal teacher. She was really in her zone of genius. And I was feeling super depleted, lost. And all of a sudden, before I left her class, I saw this magnet, and it said, do more of what makes you happy. So I realized, I was like, wait a minute, she's in her zone of genius. I can be too, but I'm just stuck doing what I think I should and what I'm good at. So I'm going to actually do more of what I love. I can do that too. And so to make this kind of a shorter story, I started doing more of what I loved. I really committed to doing more of what I loved. I even quit teaching, became a server, because I was like, that seems more fun to me. You know, I started studying metaphysics. I started studying personal development and spirituality, and finding so much joy in that, and then clarity. Okay, so that was huge. And then I started to fall again, because I was like, all right, well, I have clarity, but what am I really doing with it? Like, how can I help more people? How can I even make a living out of this? Because I don't want to be a server forever. And there was another moment of, I remember getting the opportunity to be a full-time substitute again. And this time it was teaching Spanish. I was like, okay, this could be really cool. But when I got back into it, I was like, oh yeah, I didn't like this way of teaching. Like, this is not for me. But I had a 30-minute window in my lunch hour. And I had all these papers spread out on my desk. And at the same time, I had a Tony Robbins video on my computer, because that's what I really wanted to be doing. And I had to do all this work. I also wanted to watch Tony, and I felt really conflicted inside, really stuck again, because I was like, I want to pay attention to what I know is my zone of genius, but I don't know what it's going to look like yet. But if I just focus on that, I'm going to be cheating on doing this work that I need to be doing. But I don't want to do this work. And if I do it, I feel like I'm cheating on my dream. So I was like, what do I do? Maybe you felt like that. Maybe you're feeling stuck and like, okay, wait, but what now? Right? I totally get it. So again, to just kind of make this a long story short, what I ended up doing was I was able, from that moment, only within 6 months, flipping it. And one way is through this master coach who I talked about, who I apprenticed under, because I was just seeing what it would be like to coach. But all in all, to say, I used my intuition to really lead me towards what felt right, what felt good, and it led me to this one coach who then helped me with the tools that I'm going to be sharing with you to unravel the blocks in the way through our belief systems and how to really coach others. And I really found that I loved it and I was good at it. Not only that, but I realized through coaching small groups of girls at the time that I loved teaching, but just a different subject matter in a different way. And so by following my intuition, by doing more of what I loved, and by making it a non-negotiable to do what I really, really wanted to do, I found my zone of genius. And I also am now doing what I love full time, helping more people than I ever could have in the other way. And so that is what is available for you too. And the emotional compound of that is like feeling free, feeling in joy, feeling alive, feel connected, and you're feeling on purpose. And what's best is that through this whole process, I've gotten to know me so well, so that then I have an internal feeling of fulfillment that nothing else outside can really provide. But it's an honor and a joy to be able to do what I love and then use that to help other people. Like, that's what I wish for every person on the planet. I really, really do. And that's what's possible for you as well. And so the first tool that I want to share with you, that I want you to write down right now, is through my example and through my story. And it's about number one tool, find your zone of genius. Okay, go find your zone of genius. You can do it, in the ways that I just shared in my story, but it's super important. And the way that you can is by following your intuition. And that's really key, because when we don't follow our intuition, that's when we feel lost, disconnected. And yeah, so that's tool number one, is follow your zone, find your zone of genius and follow your intuition. I want to share a story. If you're feeling like maybe, yeah, Colleen, well, the things that I love, I can't even turn that into a career. First off, for me, I didn't even realize coaching was a thing. I didn't even know it was real, okay? But because I followed my intuition, guidance was able to show me how I could blend all of my passions together into one to then actually help somebody in a meaningful career. And I want to just share really quickly a client story who she was kind of in a similar boat where she felt really scattered. She didn't know what she wanted. And she also was having some relationship issues. So she came to me. And at the time, she wasn't sure what she really wanted to do. She just had a lot of passions. And one of them was, dance. Another was acting. She really loved acting. Writing, photography, teaching, traveling. Yeah. And at the time, she just felt like she couldn't even combine them all. Like, this is so competitive. What am I going to do? And after the process of working together and showing her these tools and processes and really connecting to something greater than herself, what was so cool was that she didn't have to figure it out, but that the opportunity came to her. And it was through a person saying, hey, guess what? I'm from the Navy, and we offer journalist positions for the Navy. So guess what? If you want, you can write, you can photography, you can travel, and guess what? We'll pay for your master's in fine arts so that you can be an actress. And so all of a sudden, from her clarity, from her intuition, from her following these steps of getting clear, of being in her zone of genius, that was presented to her. So that's what's possible for you too. If you're feeling, well, I just have so much, like, it's okay. I want you to drop that story for a second. And I want you just to trust yourself that you have the guidance within you and that there is something bigger that you can't even see maybe of how this is meant to work out for you. Okay, so I'm going to take a sip of water, and I want to just check in with you. Where does this resonate for you? Where can you use your intuition? What are you good at? What are you feeling stuck in? Go ahead and journal that out, whether it's in the chat or not. But that is tool number one. Find your zone of genius and use your intuition to really make it into something for you. All right, so here we go. All right, so woohoo, right on track here. All right, so now this is the part two, okay? So I mentioned earlier how, first off, maybe you're like, okay, great, but I'm not feeling so aligned, I'm not feeling so confident, I don't have even clarity of what I really want or what I'm really good at. And that's okay. And I want you to kind of also take a look at some of these other blocks that might be keeping you stuck. And one of them is when we feel like we have to figure out our purpose, okay, kind of like we were just talking about. And also that, you might feel like, I can't be really good at my job and I don't want to like my job too much because then I'm going to get stuck there and I need to resist it. Okay, so maybe you feel like that. I know I did. Anytime I was once I had clarity about what I really saw for myself and wanted more of, any job I had, I just felt resistant towards. Kind of like the Tony Robbins video. Like I had all this work to do, I just didn't even want to do it, right? You know, and when I was in restaurants, like I would get there late. I would try to cut corners and not stay and do all of my side work. You know, sometimes I was even rude to my coworkers. But in my head, I felt okay with that because I was like, you know, I have something more meaningful to do. And this is just a job, right? Like this isn't what I'm really here for, okay? And yet, that was keeping me stuck and I did not even know it. And so that's why we're going to go into this next part here about blocks that might be keeping you stuck, even if you think they're helping you, okay? So let's go into this first piece, okay? When we don't feel like we are doing what we want, and so we're resisting that job you might be in, that's not totally on purpose for you, okay? Rather than feeling like we're moving forward, we're feeling stuck. So we want to resist that. Okay. That is actually keeping you stuck. The other piece, again, is about when you're feeling like, I just have to figure out my purpose. I'm going to narrow down, like, we're going to solve this and that's it. That can be keeping you stuck as well. So here's why for both of these things. First off, you can't solve a problem in the same energy that you created it. Okay, so if either of these cases are for you, I want to put you in the chat box or just give me a thumbs up that that's you. Okay, let me see. I think I just realized the problem. Hold on 1 second. See here. We'll try this. Let me see if you can chat with me. Anyway, I just want to connect. Okay. All right, here we go. Okay, so here's why. So we can't solve a problem in the same energy that we created it from. And that's from Mr. Albert Einstein. Okay, so everything is energy. And so when we try to narrow down and say, like, I'm just going to do this on my own, we're trying to solve this problem from the energy that it's been created in. And so a way to let ourselves get to the solution we want of finding the clarity, finding a way out, is by actually just allowing it to be and accepting it where it is and letting yourself have a better time with it, letting yourself have more fun, not being afraid of having a good time if you're doing what you know you don't want to do forever. Okay, because then you're allowing your energy to shift and you're actually going to be at a higher frequency that can let those ideas in from your intuition. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is that you're actually in that job for a purpose. Okay, it might not be your lifelong purpose, but you're there for a reason. And you know that because you're there. Okay, and you wouldn't be there without a reason. And so your job is to allow yourself to learn the lesson that you need from that, whether it's so you know you can speak your truth, or it's giving you clarity on what you really want, or it's preparing for you something that you'll need in the future. Whatever it is, you're actually there for a reason. And so when you resist it, you resist the lesson. And guess what? You can't go to your next level until you master the one you're in. Okay, it's kind of like video games. And so the way that you can go to your next level is by mastering the one you're in. So how do you do that? You give it your full attention. You pretend like you are, the Academy Award winner in wherever you're at. You get there on time. You prepare yourself. You dress nice. You act as if right now, and you give them the respect that they deserve for what they hired you for. So, that means fulfilling commitments. That means, getting there and showing that respect of, this is what I'm meant to do. Okay, that's something that I never really did. And for real, I think it kept me stuck in those jobs I didn't really want to be at for longer than I needed because I was so resistant to them. You don't have to be that way. Finally, when we do, try to resist or focus in and think, I'm just going to do this on my own, you're not allowing intuition to really take the lead and show you where you need to go or what's really meant for you. And just as a story for you, think about where does this apply for you, right? But I'm going to share a story of how this applied for me. And it was when I was working at a coffee shop. And I remember, every single day thinking, okay, 12 noon, like I want to get this training done. I want to build this part of my career. Like, let me get out of here. And at the end of the shift, there was always forks you had to polish and like roll silverware. And every single day, basically what I did was I was like, okay, let me get this done as soon as I can. Like I'm running out of time. And I was just like stressing out, and I was thinking like, can I ask somebody else to do this? Like I gotta go. And I was dressed like crap, and I maybe got there late. And at one point, though, while I was polishing the silverware, I felt my energy. I felt that energy that was creating the problem in the first place, that resistant energy, that anxious energy. I was like, what if I did something different? What if I just allowed myself to relax here? Like, really just take a breath. And I was like, wouldn't that feel better? And wouldn't that feel more like how I'd want to feel in the future anyway? I was like, yeah. So I was like, okay. And so I just pretended that's the only place I needed to be. I was okay with that. Everything was divinely timed. And as I was polishing that silverware, all of a sudden I got this big, bright idea in my head, just plopped right in. And it was in a way that I could serve a new client that I hadn't thought about before. And I was like, oh my God, I can do this. And so what I did was I finished my work, I ran home, and I implemented this idea. And what was so cool, because this was like a challenge in my brain that I had been trying to figure out for a long time. And I remember I implemented this idea, and voila, it worked for me. And it helped me create this level of income that I was then able to go full time in my business shortly after that. And so that's what's possible for you too, when you open up to being where you're at, that it's okay to be where you're at, and that you just allow your intuition to guide you through being in your job that you're in. So now just to recap, those are the blocks. Tool number 2 is to really just let yourself prepare yourself with where you're at. No more resisting like I did. What that might look like is tomorrow I want you to be there on time or 10 minutes early. Treat this like it's your final job and you love being there, because that'll help you get to the next level. Okay, so no more resisting. Allow where you're at, because that'll then allow you to go where you want to go. Okay, so that's tool number 2. Okay, have respect for your job where you're at and know it's okay to be there. All right, so we're about to get into some really juicy content here. And so get ready. All right, so earlier we talked about when we feel like we have to people please, or kind of like, I'm not good enough. So you might be ready. Okay, yes, I'm gonna go and do this job, but I still feel like I'm not really where I want to be. And I feel maybe like I can't express how I want to really express. Do you ever feel like, you're apologizing a lot, that you're not worthy to get what you want, that you're not good enough, you're people pleasing, it's hard to make decisions. All of those types of things relate to this big block, okay? So if you have a hard time moving forward, feeling paralyzed, that it's hard to make decisions, all the things that you don't have that confidence, this is why, okay? I believe most everyone has this block until they don't, and even when they don't, they have to keep working on it to make sure they still have the confidence, they're able to speak their mind, and they don't care so much about what others think about them, okay? By the way, I was totally tormented by all of these things that I'm sharing with you. So if you're feeling that way, I have so much compassion. I totally get it. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to get rid of it. Now, maybe you know what this thing is, maybe not, but this block is called codependency. Okay, it's called codependency. And what codependency is feeling like I'm responsible for you and how you feel. So whatever I do, if you feel a certain way, it's my fault. And finally, I can't be happy until others are happy. Why? Because I'm responsible for how you feel. Now, here's the flaw with that premise. Even though it's, maybe on the surface looks loving and generous and empathetic and kind, it actually is coming from a space of lack. And when you're trying to give something that you don't have for yourself or feel for yourself, you're only going to create more lack in other people. Have you ever noticed sometimes when you want to help other people, but they might not want it, and then there's resistance there and you just don't get it? That's where this is coming from, okay? What does it look like? It looks like not very healthy boundaries. So basically, you know, say you're at work and then your boss comes in and say like, hey, can you just do this extra project? And you can handle it, right? And in your mind, you might be thinking, heck no, I can't handle it. I'm way over my ears. Like, I need a break. Instead of saying that truth, you don't want to hurt his feelings. You don't want to make yourself look bad. You're responsible for how he treats you. You're responsible for his reactions to you, which isn't true, by the way. Then instead of saying what you really want in a kind way, you say, oh, sure, no problem. And then you are the one who suffers. Okay, so the freeing aspect of this is how, in fact, in reality, everybody's separate. And they are responsible, just like you have the capacity to feel happy or sad. And whether I say something right now, like really random or whatever it might be, I can't control whether you're happy or sad about it. It's not meaning I'm going to be rude or anything like that if I need to express myself. But at the same time, you're not responsible for how I feel, literally, and I'm not responsible for you. There's healthy boundaries there. Okay, I remember in high school, I was having a really hard time with my family life, and I had the chance to talk to this neighbor. And I was at her house, and she was talking to me, and she was really getting into it with me, and I was falling apart. And all of a sudden, it was 10 p.m. She's like, oh, I gotta go to bed. And I was like, wait, but I'm not done. Like, we could have talked for hours. And she was like, oh, no, but I need to go to sleep. I hope you've had a great time. Good night. And even though I was like in the middle of crying, she literally, I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? She's like, I don't know, but I got to go to bed. And I was like, oh my God. And even though I was like, how could she do that? I was like, wow, that was really impressive. That's healthy boundaries, where you're standing up for yourself and your yes means yes, and your no means no. Okay. So what is this going to do for you? This basically gives you freedom, freedom to express yourself, freedom to have the confidence within you. You're not trying to fulfill yourself from anybody else outside of you. And how does this help your purpose? It helps your purpose because you have the courage and the bravery to be who you are in the world. You have the courage and the bravery to say what you want to say and be who you are and do what you want without anybody else's approval. So maybe you think your family won't approve of you if you really become your artist self. You know, if you're feeling like, oh, this might really hurt their feelings because XYZ, that's not your responsibility. And so you can see how feeling this way can make you feel like you can't do what you want. And that doing what you really want is what leads you to your purpose anyway. Okay, so I want to give you an example, a demonstration for you here of where this comes from and why it happens and what it looks like. Okay, so I have a little cup here. I'm going to take some water. Okay, we're getting close to the end here, so I really want you to pay attention, and you've been doing great, and so let's keep going. We're getting towards the end, but I know this is really good stuff. So here we go. So we have this beautiful little glass. This is you. Okay, see how it's little and it's contained. So it's like, it could call itself, you know, your ego, and it's disconnected and it's contained, but it's also this little glimmering glass of light, right? Clarity and light. And this is source energy here, okay? And when we're born, we're all filled up, okay? This is who we really are. We're already really filled up. And yet, as we grow older, now I want to share with you, where does codependency come from? And this is why it's so rampant, is codependency can come from any childhood experience or repetitive trauma or repetitive problem where you felt unloved or you felt disconnected from your source of love and power. Or if your parents were also kind of emotionally volatile, then you felt like you would trigger your dad to get angry. So then it was your fault. So you had to be careful what you did or said. That's where codependency can come from. And do you see how anytime, if you feel like you've disconnected, you're feeling like I'm not enough. And look, this is what happens. We like totally empty our energy because we start to think, believe, and then the world shows us you're not enough. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You know, any experience that cuts you off from your source of power can create this codependency. Okay, so all of a sudden you're at your own age now as an adult and you feel like this. Okay, you feel like this. And this is what codependency looks like. And this is the root of it. Codependency, feeling responsible for others, is when you don't feel complete yourself. So why does it happen? We're trying to gain energy from other people. And we're trying to get fulfillment from them. We're trying to get fulfillment from relationships, from the job that we're in, from our identity, our friends. And yet what happens is that here's a big boy cup, okay? They feel like, oh, you know, I want to help you and I want to love you, but they can also sense your kind of energy to get from them as well, because what you want is for them to fill up your love, right? But what happens? This cup feels depleted. And sometimes that's when there's this quote I love from a guy named Tenzin Rinpoche, and he's a great guy. He says, the more you try to give, the less you are able to give. The more you are, the more you give. So basically meaning the more that you actually are whole and complete and filled up, the more you actually can give from your overflow. But what happens now? Okay, so people don't want to be around you because they can sense you're trying to fill up with their energy. Also, in your job, you're feeling, I'm not good enough. So what happens? The world shows that to you. People don't want to hang out with you that much. You start apologizing. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Like, all those are this block, okay? And it's keeping you stuck. Now, again, the root. We're probably not, we're probably not meditating. So then we're feeling depleted. We're not in a job that is worthy of us. So then we feel depleted. We're not standing up for ourselves. And so we don't have healthy boundaries. We get depleted again. Now, here's the difference. This is all caused from childhood beliefs that were established for you when you felt disconnected from love. And so the belief is, I am broken. I am not whole and complete. And that's what's causing your experience. And you're feeling like I'm not worthy, okay? And needing from other people or from your job or whatever, that in life isn't working out, okay? So now here's my method. This is what I help you do. I help you reconnect to source energy. Okay, so all of a sudden you're connecting to something bigger than yourself. You're learning the tools to do that. You're learning how the truth is you actually are and always have been whole and complete, exactly as you are. And what happens? You keep connecting to that source. You're finding your purpose. You're finding your alignment. Your intuition is really speaking up. You're guided. You're doing what you love. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. I can hardly go to sleep right now. And you're enthusiastic. All of a sudden, you are working for your overflow. So what happens? Your friend comes back, or your son, or your husband, or your friends, or your mom or dad, and they say, hey, can I hang out with you? A relationship. And they're like, oh my God, yes, please. I would love to help you because I have more than enough. Because I am more than enough. Do you see that? And then look, you go help people in a job you love, but guess what? You even get filled up for that because you're doing God's work in the world. So you just work for your overflow. And that's how it goes. That's the beauty of it. But that's also why we stay stuck when we have this belief that I'm not worthy, I'm broken, I'm not enough. You see that? You cannot give what you don't have. Okay, so that's why it's so life-changing to know about this block, okay, and know really how to reconnect. Okay, so let me know, how does that resonate with you? Do you feel yourself being codependent sometime? I want to give you another really good example. This was a client of mine who actually was sitting right there in that chair. And she's like, okay, Colleen, it was 5 o'clock. And she's like, I'm ready to go, but I have an issue. I'm in a career right now I don't really love, and I was invited to hang out with these coworkers, but I don't really want to, but I already said I would. So what do I do? And I was like, well, what do you really want to do? She's like, I really don't want to go. I was like, okay. And she was like, but here's the thing. If I don't go, I'll make them feel bad. and it'll be my fault because I'll be causing them to be unhappy. And I said, is that true? And she's like, wait, no, it's not. I was like, what do you really want to do? She's like, I don't want to go to that party. So I said, okay, do what you want. And all of a sudden she found out this idea. She's like, oh my God, I'm going to do this instead. Okay, I'm not responsible for them. Oh my God, I'm going to go do this instead. That's her intuition speaking. Filled up. She's like, thanks, Colleen, I got to go bye. Okay, so that's an example, again, of codependency speaking up and that belief. So where do you feel codependent? Where do you feel like you can't do what you want? Because I kind of like show this great example and I'm like laughing because it's a fun example, but at the same time, it can be debilitating when you feel like you can't do what you really want to do. When you feel you're not on purpose because you have to apologize and you can't speak your truth, okay? Because your purpose is to be who you really are in the world, and then let your intuition show you how you can figure out a way to make that a meaningful path for you that also helps other people, okay? So as we kind of wrap up here, we've really covered a lot. We've covered today how trying to get out of where you're at and not accept where you are can really keep you stuck, and also how trying to figure out your purpose can really keep you stuck. Right? And the tool that we have for that is to act as if, pretend that you already are, give it the respect as if you already are doing what you love so you can get to the next level. So get there early, dress up, be there as long as you need to be, have a great attitude about it. We also covered today how important it is to find your zone of genius. And when you can find your zone of genius and let your intuition and your source energy guide you, because guess what? Again, that's your energy. That's where you're getting your inspiration anyway, and your enthusiasm and theos in God. That's where it's getting from. Like if you can connect to that and then do it in a purposeful way, life, and you're going to get rewarded for that work because you're doing what you're meant to be doing. That's how magic this is, and that's how you can really help everybody else, because you'll be happy and you're going to be doing work that you're great at and you love. It's a game changer. Okay, that's what purpose is. So find your zone of genius. That's so important, uplifting the consciousness of the planet. And that's how you do it. You find your zone of genius, you trust your intuition. Okay, sometimes that can be hard. I totally get that. So stay with me for just a second. Now, the final piece was about this big block that, like, if any child has ever felt unloved, they've probably developed this block, right? I'm not good enough. I'm not whole and complete exactly as I am. I have to prove myself. I have to apologize for what I want. No, that's the block of codependency. Okay, it's not who you are. It's not who you're meant to be. It's keeping you stuck from what you want to be doing in the world and what you're even meant to do. Okay, so tool number 3, how do you get over that block? That's a tricky one, because that's bigger than what we kind of have time to even talk about today. That's been with you from childhood. So what I recommend as a tool for that is to find a mentor. Find somebody who's skilled at being able to help you connect to that source energy that can allow yourself to reconnect to the real truth of who you are, that you're already whole and complete. But somebody who can help you shift that mindset and reprogram your beliefs from that bull crap, even though it made sense and it kept you safe at the time, to freedom, to expression, to helping others through helping yourself first. Okay, so finding a mentor, whoever you feel is skilled at that, you know, reading books about it if you need to, and mentorship in that way, group programs, whatever it is that works for you. But it's really hard to see the picture when you're the one in the frame. Okay, so that's why tool number 3 for codependency, because it's a big guy, it's a big one, it really is to get the tools from a mentor and really apply them to day by day work out and reroute those neuron connections so that you feel like you don't have to prove to anybody. You can do what you want to do, and you can do what you're meant for, okay, without apologizing. So you may be wondering, okay, Colleen, this is really good information. You've covered a lot, and yet where do we go from here, right? Like, how do I really shift my mindset? Or how do I really find my zone of genius? How do I really connect to my intuition? Because, by the way, those were all issues for me at one point too. And so what I want to do is what I promised was invite you to a really free gift. It's a really free gift. It's really free. It's also really great. Okay, it's a really special opportunity. And what that is I've cleared space in my calendar this week so that you can have the experience of seeing where all of this information applies to you. Okay, and also how step by step what it will take for you to get a plan, get into your zone of genius, and get these blocks out of the way. Apply this, but specifically to you so that you can take this information and actually apply it to your life. Because here's the truth. Many people, the majority of people, I think it's 90% of people who watch free webinars or do free courses do not apply what they learn. And what happens then? It's like they didn't even go. Right? Those old mindsets come back and then they're still just stuck and they're not doing what they're meant to. They're not helping uplift the consciousness of the planet. Okay? They're not living a life they'd love. And I don't want that to be you. So that's why I have opened some limited spacing for about half of the people that really registered for this. Okay? So if you're feeling called to just feel like you can break free from all these blocks, I want you to book a consultation with me. It's a purpose clarity call. Okay, so what we'll do on the call is just within that hour, talk about this, but specifically to you, and you can share your story in a safe, non-judgmental environment, non-shame, there's no failure, okay? And what we'll do is I'm going to just help you see, okay, this is where you're at, these are your blocks, and then this is what you can do to get out of it, okay? This is the cost, absolutely free, okay? And it's just so you have the experience of really taking this forward. So how can you do that? You can go to www.colleencoles.com/book-a-clarity-session. And I'm going to put that on a slide for you. Cool. One second, I'm going to share my screen. Cool. So this is what this site looks like. And hold on. Let's see. You're going to go to colleencoles.com/book-a-clarity-session. And okay, and it's going to look like that. So you're going to just click the button, book your clarity call now. You'll find a place on my calendar and we will book it for this week. And I really just, it's all about implementation. It's all about quick action. And so if you're wanting to apply this, you want some support, then this is for you. Now I'm also going to stop sharing and then also really quickly show you to something else where you can see this. Okay, so this is a separate slideshow I have for something else, but here is, all right, great. So there's the link right there. It's my face. Okay, and finally, so if at the time that we talk on the phone, it feels good to move forward in any way, and you feel like I can help you, or I know that I can help you, you may be invited to be one of the few clients I take on this month. And if you are, what I'm going to do is treat you like the VIP you are and take you through the same system that I've helped other clients go through of connecting to their zone of genius, what it's like to connect to their intuition, get these blocks out of the way, and then take action with accountability towards what you really want. Okay, some of these, again, like Sarah, she's now living her dream, doing all of the things she loves, but she's also getting her school paid for. Another client was stuck, not taking action, and now he has a recurring role on a national television show because he's an actor. I mean, really cool results that people have found, and I attribute it to Source Energy. I attribute it to my mentorship as well. And so, yes, that's if it feels right, but if not, then I am so grateful to have this time with you. So make sure to book a clarity session now. There are limited spots, so make sure to do that now. Do it right now. And let's start to really have you soar, because that's what you're meant for. You're meant to do great things in this world, and I'm here for you to even help you in any way that I can. And so I want to really thank you for being here, watching this webinar, and treating yourself, because it's going to help the rest of the planet as well. And that's why we're here. So thank you. I haven't been seeing chats all night, so I'm guessing we can't see them. And if you're live, I'm so sorry about that. And I'll totally get that bugaboo checked out. But feel free to email me as well at Colleen at colleencoles.com, or my website, colleencoles.com, so that we can connect and you can tell me, how this was for you. I really want to just hear for you what your takeaways were, what your favorite part was, and how you're going to apply this as well. So I hope your first step is to book that call, because this is like a really big gem, and I really want you to take advantage of that so you can get past the blocks for you and come out with a game plan, okay? Because your purpose is worth it. We're ready for you, and there's things you can do right now to feel fulfillment within yourself so that you can then bring that fulfillment to others in the work that you do in the world. So thank you all so much for watching, for being here live, or for watching the recording, and I'm just in awe of you. I'm grateful for you. It's been a good night. So thank you so, so, so much. I look forward to speaking with you this week. And you can find me on Facebook too, but there's the link, www.colleencoles.com/book-a-clarity-session. Okay. Thank you so much again. Lots of love to you, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.